The White Demographic Project. They called it civilization. They called it progress. They called it a gift to the world. It was none of those things. What European powers ran across 4 centuries was one of history's most calculated social engineering operations. A global project to make the world whiter, not by accident, not by natural migration, by design, by law, by force. And the evidence is everywhere if you're willing to look. Let's be clear about what drove this machine. European governments in the 18th and 19th centuries wrapped white supremacy in the language of science and called it eugenics. They published papers, they held conferences, they built universities around the idea that white European bloodlines sat at the top of a racial hierarchy, and that spreading those bloodlines across the globe would improve humanity. This was not fringe thinking. Heads of state believed it, celebrated intellectuals published it, and governments, British, French, Dutch, Portuguese, Spanish, built entire legal systems around it. They didn't just believe it, they funded it, they shipped it, they enforced it with armies.
Of the White Australia policy?
Well, I think it's good, and they should really have it and keep out the coloured races.
You think
in what respect?
Well, do you think it should be discontinued at this stage, or?
No, I don't. I think it should be continued.
Australia didn't hide what it was doing. It put it in writing. The Immigration Restriction Act of 1901, known as the White Australia Policy, did 2 things simultaneously. It slammed the door on Asian, African, and Pacific Islander immigration, and it threw the door wide open for British and Irish settlers, offering land, subsidized passage, and economic incentives to anyone white enough to qualify. But land wasn't enough. The indigenous population still existed, so the government launched a second campaign, the forced removal of Aboriginal children from their families, the stolen generations. Children ripped from their mothers and placed in white households to break the chain of culture, language, and identity across generations. Australian officials wrote openly about their goal to absorb the Aboriginal population into white Australian society within generations. Children as young as infants were removed. Language, culture, ceremony, family connection, all targeted for elimination. This was cultural genocide in service of demographic engineering. The goal was explicit: make Australia white, completely, permanently. France didn't just colonize Algeria. France tried to replace it. Over 130 years, France transplanted more than 1 million European settlers, known as the Pieds Noirs, into Algerian land seized from Muslim families at gunpoint. These settlers received the richest farmland, full French citizenship, and legal protections that indigenous Algerians never accessed. Algerians lived under a separate legal code designed to keep them landless, voteless, and powerless in their own country. France called this the civilizing mission. Algerians called it what it was: occupation. They fought back for 8 years in one of the bloodiest anti-colonial wars in modern history. 1.5 million Algerians died before France finally left in 1962. 1 million settlers couldn't hold a nation that refused to disappear. Brazil didn't hide its racial agenda. The government gave it a name: branqueamento, whitening. Between 1870 and 1930, Brazil recruited millions of Europeans, Italians, Germans, Portuguese, Spaniards, with one declared objective: dilute the African and indigenous population until Brazil looked white enough to be taken seriously on the world stage. Brazilian intellectuals published actual timelines, generational projections, predictions of when the African bloodline would fade sufficiently from the national picture. Argentina and Chile ran the same program under different names. Within a single century, Argentina shifted from a majority indigenous and mixed-race population to a majority white European one. This was demographic replacement with a government stamp of approval and a budget line item to match. In South Africa, the engineering was architectural. The Natives Land Act of 1913 handed 87% of South African land to a white population that represented roughly 20% of the people. Black South Africans, the overwhelming majority, received access to the remaining 13%, confined to rural reserves designed to keep them available as cheap labor while stripping them of economic power. Apartheid in 1948 formalized the entire structure. Racial classification at birth, geographic segregation, passbooks controlling black movement across the country, an entire legal system built to lock demographic and economic dominance in place, permanently. Apartheid didn't happen because racism got out of hand. Apartheid happened because engineers of racial power sat down and designed a system to preserve white minority control against the mathematical reality of a black majority nation. In 1917, Britain wrote a letter that reshaped a nation. The Balfour Declaration promised a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, a territory where Arabs, Muslim, and Christian made up 90% of the population. Britain held Palestine under its mandate and managed the demographic transition directly. Jewish immigration from Europe accelerated. Arab political organization faced restriction. Between 1920 and 1948, the Jewish population grew from roughly 60,000 to 650,000. In 1948, 750,000 Palestinians fled or were expelled from their homes in what Palestinians call the Nakba, the catastrophe. Villages emptied. Families kept their keys for decades believing they would return. Their departure created the demographic foundation the new state required. A letter written in London. A population cleared from their land. The math was always intentional. Cecil Rhodes didn't settle Zimbabwe, he seized it. In the 1890s, the British South Africa Company carved Ndebele and Shona land into parcels and handed them to white settlers as recruitment incentives. By the mid-20th century, 250,000 white Rhodesians controlled a nation of 6 million black Zimbabweans, holding the farms, the corporations, the courts, and the government. When Britain began moving toward decolonization, Ian Smith's white minority government declared independence in 1965, specifically to preserve that racial order against a black majority demanding basic political rights. A white minority declared independence from their own parent nation because that nation moved too slowly toward human equality. It took a liberation war and international pressure to end it. Zimbabwe gained majority rule in 1980. Here is what they want you to forget. None of this happened organically. Governments wrote these laws. Governments funded these ships. Governments distributed this land. Governments built the legal systems that locked these demographic changes into place across generations. The wealth gaps you see today, the land disparities, the political power imbalances, the cultural erasure, these are the receipts of a global engineering project that ran for 4 centuries with the full institutional backing of the most powerful governments on Earth. Someone planned this, someone paid for it, someone enforced it, and the people it displaced, replaced, and dispossessed, they are still here, still fighting, still telling the truth about what was done and who did it. History didn't just happen, someone engineered it, and it's past time the world said so out loud.